The painterly style is a technique used in digital art that mimics the aesthetic of traditional paintings. This method aims to achieve a look that resembles brush strokes, impasto textures, or soft color transitions often found in works of art made with oils, acrylics, or watercolors. In 3D rendering, adding a painterly effect can give a more artistic and handcrafted feel to a scene, steering away from the photorealistic or sharp renders often produced by modern rendering engines. In Blender, we can achieve this painterly look using the Compositor by combining specific filters, such as the Quara filter and denoising, along with other nodes to create a stylized render. In this guide, we'll walk through how to set up these nodes to create a beautiful painterly effect for your scene. But first, let me give you a more extensive explanation of how this effect works, starting with the Kuwahara filter. Imagine you're looking at a photo and you want to make it look more like a painting, but without blurring the important edges. The Quara filter does this by looking at the area around each pixel, picking the smoothest and most consistent colors, and using those to replace the original pixel's color. It does this while making sure to keep edges sharp so that the image doesn't become overly blurry. Denoise filter. Imagine you take a photo in a dark room and the picture turns out grainy with lots of tiny, unwanted specks everywhere. The denoise filter works like a cleaner for your photo. It finds those specks and replaces them with smooth, proper colors, making the photo look clearer and sharper. And finally, overlaying normal map. A normal map acts like a fake texture. It tricks the computer into thinking parts of your image are raised like brush strokes without actually changing the shape of the surface. When you overlay this normal map onto your image, it makes the image look like it has bumps and grooves, just like an oil painting. The first node in our compositing tree is the Render Layers node. This node brings in the rendered image from your 3D scene. You can access this node by going to the Compositor view in Blender, enabling Use Nodes, and adding the Render Layers node. Make sure that your scene is fully rendered before proceeding to the next steps. This will give you a starting image for applying the painterly effect. First, let's add the Kuwahara effect. This will give your model a nice painterly look, but before that, we need to add a viewer node so we can see what we're doing. To connect the viewer node with the composite node, just hold down Shift, then right-click and drag to link them together. Now we can see the changes in our render. To give it more of a painterly oil painting style, let's add an overlay effect using a normal map. This will create the look of bumps and grooves similar to brush strokes in real oil paint. To do this, you will need a photo editing software. In this tutorial, we will use Photoshop and a brush plugin, which you can easily find online. Inside the Photoshop, you need to fill the color background to color black. Just press B, and your cursor will turn into a brush, changing the color to white. Keep in mind that black and white represent height. Black means lower areas and white means higher areas. Now feel free to paint the way you want, but make sure to stick to the right colors for the height. Once you're finished, export it and switch the properties to nearest neighbor in Photoshop. To turn your image into a normal map, head over to the So3D website. You'll find options to tweak your normal map by adjusting things like strength and levels. Just make sure you set the filter to Sobel. Head back to Blender. In the middle of your Kuwahara node setup, drop in a mix color node. Connect the first output of the Kuwahara node to the first input of the mix color node. Let's bring in the image we just created. First, add a scale node and set it to render size, then choose the crop option so we can overlay the normal map into our render scene properly. Let's add the separate axes. This will split the axis parts of the normal map so you can tweak each axis separately. This means you can adjust how pronounced the bumps or ridges on your surface look. Once you have the normal map divided into X, Y, and Z components, you can apply different effects to each one. For example, you might want to only change the horizontal X or vertically parts while keeping the depth Z the same. For each of the three outputs X, Y, Z, start by adding a mix color node and set it to mix. Connect the two inputs to the X, Y, and Z outputs and set the factor to 0.5. Then add another mix color node and set it to multiply. Connect the output of the first node to the first input of this new node. Add a math node, set it to add and connect the second input to this math node. Do this for each mix color node. After that, connect the output of the multiply node to a combine axes node. This will merge all the effects into one vector. Next, add another mix color node and set it to overlay. Connect its inputs to the combine axes node. Finally, connect the output of the overlay node to the second input of the last mix color node you added. When we render it, the result will have a really unique painterly look. Imagine an oil painting with all those characteristic bumps and grooves. It's like bringing a canvas to life with texture and depth. You finally make a painterly style using compositor nodes. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.